a little bit of fun, not to be taken at all seriously. Well, actually, there's a couple. There's a couple I would take, but we have had a question and a suggestion for a video from one of our subscribers, and I know very little about this, but I've already started to formulate my opinions in my mind. Geo, would you be so kind as to read out the question, please?
Yeah, I'm going to reword it a little bit just so Joshua doesn't get too much grief. But he said, name 2 players from each of the predicted relegated teams that would be ideal signings for us this summer. So obviously we're going to focus on Southampton, already relegated, then Leicester and Ipswich. So 6 players each, 2 per club. Back over to you.
Okay, right. We're assuming they're getting relegated, and there's not really going to be any. Sorry, we talk about focus. I'm having trouble with my focus here. We're not going to be able to. We're going to assume Wolves are out of it, and there's going to be no Herculean effort from Ipswich in particular. I think the first thing you've got to say is there's meagre pickings at Leicester. I've got to say that. I accidentally, like if you click on Google, you click on players, and you can click on the men's or the women's team. I think I was edging towards a few of the women's players, to be perfectly honest with you, rather than any of the men's team. They are useless. Really, I've got some really bad players. So nobody there, but I will pick 2. Shall we start though? Shall we start with the good ones? Gio, shall we start with? Actually, I think there's good players at both Southampton and Ipswich. So let's start with a tap in, shall we, Gio? 2 from you.
We'll go with Ipswich then. Yep. Liam Delap's a tap in. I think he should be our number 1 priority, regardless of the fact that we're purchasing from a relegated team. I think if you said to me, which striker do you want, period, it's Liam Delap. 30 million release clause. Someone's getting a bargain. So he'd be my number 1. 12 goals in the Premier League this season. Really good returns. I've actually found Ipswich to be quite underwhelming. I think they've got a lot of good players, but they've not had good seasons per se. I really wanted Greaves at West Ham last summer. He went to Ipswich, and I think he struggled a bit with the Premier League. And I think that could be said of Clark as well. West Ham were heavily linked to him at Sunderland, went to Ipswich, struggled at the Premier League. West Ham fan, Sammy Smodix. I didn't want him at West Ham, but he went to Ipswich, struggled there as well. So there's a lot of players who were really good in the Championship, and they've not really cut it at Ipswich. So the player I'm actually going to go for is Dada O'Shea, who played in the Premier League at Burnley, and I thought he looked okay in that Burnley team. And I think he's possibly been their better centre-back at Ipswich. Now, the bar's low, but I think he's looked quite comfortable in the Premier League, and he's a good threat when attacking set pieces, 26 years of age, homegrown. So I'd have him. Would he come in and knock Todibo out the team? Not necessarily, but what we're looking for is someone better than Mavropanos, and I think O'Shea is better than Mavropanos. So there should be a lot of players in that Ipswich team that I'd love to have at West Ham, but there's not really. I think, one of the players that's impressed me most is on loan from Napoli, so I can't have him. So yeah, O'Shea and Delap.
Yeah, I mean, this was, it was a couple of tap-ins there, easy, really, for us. A couple of players. Got a right-back called Ben Johnson, a central midfielder called Calvin Phillips, who are highly sought-after players. But leaving those aside, I can only echo what you say about Delap. He's a really good player. He's only 22. He's only getting better, let's be fair. He's in that perfect zone, is he? I don't think he's good enough for Man City to want to exercise whatever option they might have to buy him back. And he's not good enough. Arsenal aren't going to go and take him, or any of these other clubs that are vying for the Champions League. And he needs to continue playing football. He wouldn't want to assign for them anyway. He needs to play football.
I think Nottingham Forest might.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, you know what I mean. They're not traditional. They've done brilliant this season, and yeah, you can actually see that working for them. And yeah, and there's nothing we could do about that. If Nottingham Forest wanted him and we wanted him, he'd go to Nottingham Forest, and that is a damning indictment of what's gone on at West Ham. And well, it's not just Nottingham Forest. We've let so many clubs overtake us. It's just mismanagement, total mismanagement at its finest, or its worst, really. But yeah, by and large, I don't think any of the heavyweights go and take him. Would he get in at Forest ahead of Wood? Yeah, he probably. He probably would. Yeah, so him, very, very good. We like him. This was tough. Is it Hutchinson that plays for them in the middle?
Yeah. He would be my third choice. Some Addy
Yeah, I think
Hutchinson.
I'm going to go with him instead of Leif Davis because I hadn't actually. I was thinking of Leif Davis. I think, but then when you speaking, listening to you speak, I think he was one of the ones that was good in the championship and then maybe hasn't quite made the step up. But I've not seen much of Ipswich, but I have the few times I've seen him. He seemed to be buzzing around. He's busy. He's doing stuff. He's got good balance. Hutchinson. I like him. I think he's a good player. So I'd probably pick those two. But I mean, it's hard to look through there and find people to get into the first team. So I think only Delap really threatens the first team at West Ham. I think we might find that it's slightly different at Southampton, mate.
My number one pick at Southampton would be Fernandez. I've been very, very impressed by him. Signed him from Sporting last summer for 15 million. I'd never heard of him. I'm not going to pretend I had. But whenever I watch Southampton, often there's 10 crap players plus him. With Ipswich, I think they've got a lot of good players. And when you speak about Leif Davis and other players, you think, would they be better in a better team? Possibly. But actually, with Fernandez at Southampton, he's not needed to be in a better team to look better, if that makes sense. He's just done it anyway. And I've actually had a quick squiz, just as you were looking for Leicester players and you were eyeing up all the women. I went and had a look at Fernandez's stats just to see how he compares with others. So I've got two different graphs for you here. So this is Fernandez compared to central midfielders. And this is the big five leagues in European football plus the Champions League and Europa League. Look at his progressive carries, 98th percentile. So he's in the top 2% of players for dribbling from the centre midfield. Now, he's more of an attacking midfielder, but this is comparing him to central midfielders, but he's played there a lot for Southampton this season. So let's compare him to attacking midfielders. So his progressive carries dropped back a little bit, but then look at his defensive statistics. They've shot up now. So you can either have central midfielder that's really good on the ball, or you've got an attacking midfielder who's pretty good on the ball, but incredible off the ball. And I think he ticks all the boxes for what we'd perhaps be looking for someone that can be used in more than one position under Graham Potter. What are you laughing at?
He's the one Southampton player we've probably not been linked with.
Yeah, he is. I'm concerned about the defenders we've been linked to some extent, but he's the one that I think there's a really good signing there, but good value for money. My other player is Dibbling, and I think he will go on to become an excellent player from what I've seen. But you're going to have to pay big money to get him. You're going to be looking. I know Saint said 100 million, but that's our 150 million Declan Rice thing.
Yeah.
So you will get him. I don't know, 50, 60 million. Maybe you'd get Dibbling for 40 if you're really lucky. But still a lot of money. I don't think Fernandez would cost all that much. A player who's more ready now, and he's only 20 years of age, I should add, Fernandez. He's only 20. So he's my number one pick, and Dibbling is my second choice.
Yeah, he's. I'll go for Dibbling as well. I'd be amazed if anyone pays £50 million for him now. I'll be. They might what they want and what they get probably be two very, very different things. But I think he's very good. I think he might have only scored 2 goals this season, though, or something like that. It's not enough. It's not. Well, it's enough. It's enough, and I'd still want him, but it's not enough to command the very, very highest transfer fees. That's for sure. It's quite the other one. I'm actually obviously I don't want Ramsdale, but I'm going for the players that we actually already have been linked with, and I don't know whether this is. I don't know whether I should count Walker Peters because we can just take him anyway, and I think we probably will. But irrespective of that, I like him. I like him as a player. I really like his versatility. I think he's got what we don't have, and I think he's actually perfectly suited to Graham Potter. And the other day, I did a video about him, and somebody said, "Is this really the depth of your ambition?" in the comments. And it's not, because as I said in the video, you get someone like that for free, and it then allows, if whatever amount of money you think we've got, it allows us to spend that money elsewhere. And I think he is a squad player, and I think you can't have too many of those players that can play in 2 or 3 positions, and he can. They're perfect for the bench. They're perfect for when you've got injuries, and yeah, not every player that gets relegated is a bad player. And I think that was very much the tone of a lot of the comments on there. A lot of
Well,
people
Andy
are
Robertson
against
got
this.
relegated with Hull City. So
Sorry, who did?
Andy Robertson got relegated with Hull City before he went to Liverpool.
It's lots of them. I mean, did Everton not get Tarkowski after
Yeah,
Burnley
quite a
got
lot. I
relegated?
mean, we got Fabianski
Free.
from Swansea.
Yeah, for free. So yeah, yes, not only are there players available from relegated clubs, but there are free players available from relegated clubs. Yeah, I don't subscribe to that, but there was a lot of certainly a lot of pushback. Oh no, not Walker Peters. I think people look at 10 points, awful, isn't it? This season from Southampton, 10 points, and I sort of get it, but it's not. Weirdly, I think they have better players than Leicester City. Having looked at
Yeah.
the two teams, I like him, and I like him irrespective of it. I liked him when he was at Tottenham when Tottenham still had Carl Walker because he was coming through Carl Walker Peters, and he won the World Cup, didn't he, with the whatever it was, the under-18s England team. I thought he's got a couple of caps for England. I think he's a good player. I think he is a Premier League player, and he can carry the ball really, really well. Dribbles it well, plays on the left or the right. I think he's particularly if we're losing Emerson, he's exactly what we need. Is probably a good reason, not to get Leif Davis, but I'd still, even if it was a straight shootout, I'd still take Carl Walker Peters over Leif Davis. And he's not. People were acting like he was very old. Well, he's 28 next week, funny enough. So you get him on a 4-year contract. You're getting his best years, I would think. So, yeah, those would be my two. Before we go any further, can I please just encourage you, lovely people, to try and check out our wonderful Patreon page. What's Patreon? Well, Patreon's a great way that you guys can support Hammers Chat and allow us to sit here talking about which players we'd like to poach off of soon-to-be championship clubs. Allow us to sit down in our lofty spaces. Well, I say I'm in a shed. Geo, of course, is in his loft. And it's a great way for you to support us and get a load of additional content at the same time. Hammers Chat Patreon's our third Hammers Chat channel. So we've got loads and loads of additional videos on there. If you've been watching this long enough, you know the sort of stuff. All we'd say is give it a whirl. By giving it a whirl, giving it a go, which is for less than £1 a month, £3.60, in fact, per month, get entered into a load of competitions that people actually win. Let me say that. We've had a lot of winners. We don't just say this stuff because, well, people will be able to disprove us quickly in the comments anyway. Links in the description below, patreon.com/Hammers Chat. And, well, do you know what? We'd just appreciate you giving it a try. Right, last but least, Leicester City. Who you got?
There's literally only two players I like.
Yeah.
Out of the entire squad, there's only two players I look at and think, yep, I'd have him at West Ham. And that's it. And it's a shame, really. I mean, you look at Ndidi and you should be able to go, yeah, I'd have him, but I'm not that keen on him. So, your goalkeeper Hermansen, I think, is a good goalkeeper. I think he's possibly already better than Areola, and I think he'll get a move this summer. Chelsea feels like the obvious destination with Maresca there, and they need a goalkeeper too. But this is what we'd like, so I'd put him on my list. He wouldn't be my number one goalkeeper target this summer, but he'd certainly be in the top 5. And then El Canus as well. Whenever I watch Leicester, I've been impressed by him. And I think while Fernandes has looked good in a Southampton team, despite being surrounded by players that are underperforming, I feel like El Canus has just not been able to perform at Leicester this season. Whenever I watched him, sometimes he's too far deep. And when he does get on the ball, he's direct. And there's a lot I like about the player. He's nowhere near the finished article yet, but I think there's a lot there that I like that he could work with and get a really good attacking midfielder out of him. And I think if Potter's going to continue with this at times box midfield and we're going to play with 2 number 10s, but then at times we're going to switch to a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
You need players that can play both roles. You need players that can play in the number 10, but also then go play on the left if you have to. And I think El Canus is showing at Leicester this season he's capable of doing both. Now, his output isn't great. If you look at his goals and assists only, it's not very good. But context is important. He's had a 38-year-old Jamie Vardy ahead of him. He's had bloody Jordan Ayew on one side, Bobby De Cora-Reid on the other side. Behind him, he's got Samari and Ndidi. How are you meant to perform with those players around you? It's a very difficult role, I think. Leicester are horrific. 8 games now without a goal. It is
Yeah.
stinky. They deserve to be bottom of the Premier League.
They do.
But but El Canusto, I think, is someone that got a little bit about him. I wouldn't mind seeing him at West Ham.
I mean, this is really tough, and I was half joking. I think I would. It was terrible. And by the way, I've got to say this: I did see us linked with Jamie Vardy yesterday. Now I know links aren't anything, and anyone can make this stuff up, but I had to laugh. It's not going to happen, but I thought, wow, look at that.
Are you sure it wasn't a joke? There was a joke going around that now David Sullivan's back in charge. Sullivan will go, Graham, don't you worry, mate. I've got you someone. I've got your striker. Just been relegated from the Premier League. 10 goals to see. Oh, brilliant. We've got Liam Delap. No, I've got you Jamie Vardy.
No, if it was, I didn't see. If it was a joke on social media, I didn't see that. If it was a joke, then someone had picked it up. Caught offside, sports witness. Someone had picked it up and was running it as a story. I saw it yesterday. But it was certainly in the news. It was certainly in the Google News feed. It wasn't on social media.
My
Anyway,
word. Can you imagine being that journalist and just... That is honestly where you get a ball of names and go, oh, ta-da, Jamie Vardy. Right, which club? Hey, West Ham. Let's type it up.
Yeah, I didn't get the impression it was a joke. It was definitely on at least a Google News feed. So, I mean, this is really tough. I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna go with Michael Golding in the hope that he becomes a player. Obviously done really good at England youth levels, and there was a little bit of a tug of war to get him from Chelsea anyway. But I mean, he's done nothing. I think he's played 4 games this season. But this is how bad it is, because this is how bad Leicester are, just purely because the players that are there. I thought once upon a time, I thought Samir was going to be a good player. By the way, I should say that he was looking like he was going to be a good player, and it hasn't sort of turned out to be the case. But I mean, there's such meager pickings. There really are. As you say, and Didi, we should be looking at these players thinking we'll have some of that. They are awful. The other one I'm probably going to go for, and it's a cheat code. I'm only getting it because it's quick. It's Patson Daka. Because I just think he might be someone that you might chuck on. But most of these players that we're talking about don't get anywhere near, don't get in the first team. Obviously, some do, Liam Delap does, and so on and so forth. I think some of these players don't even get in the 25 at West Ham, the 25 squad. And I think I've just picked 2 that wouldn't even get in the squad. So that's how bad Leicester are. And we can only really hope that we're insulated against this sort of nonsense next season when teams get promoted, because we're gonna need these teams to come up and be useless and have a load of useless players like that. If we're going to sort of insulate ourselves, but that's what the Premier League's becoming. The disparity. It's a funny throwaway line that the 2 Leicester City players that I would pick wouldn't get in West Ham's 25-man squad. It does sort of highlight the disparity between what one of the worst teams in the Premier League, which is us, and the very worst teams in the Premier League. There's a massive gap for those Championship clubs to bridge. Any final thoughts or wild cards, Gio?
No, I just hope we don't go sort of. There's always a good couple of bargains to be had from relegated teams. I hope we're not too snobby to not look at them. But I would lie if I said I didn't get a little bit of the fear when seeing we're linked with 5 Southampton players. Oh, hang on a minute, please. Can we just? And I appreciate some of the rumours have been dispelled a bit in regards to Aaron Ramsdale and stuff.
Yeah.
That's a relief. He's the one I do not want. I do not want Aaron Ramsdale anywhere near West Ham. That guy's going to break a record. The record for the most relegations from the Premier League is 5. Hermansen, who played for Portsmouth and other clubs, Ramsdale's on 3 now. And he's still got 10 years left in the Premier League as well. I think if they come up, I think he'll end up at Leeds United next season. I think Leeds need a goalkeeper, and I think possibly take a punt on Ramsdale. But as long as he's not at West Ham,
No, and it's a shame that he's got that, because apparently every time you hear anything about him, he's a really nice guy. Selfies and autographs for everyone visiting. You write him a letter, he'll visit you in hospital, and this, that. Well, obviously, you've got to be in hospital for him to do that, but he'll do anything for anyone. Anything for anyone. And it turns out he can't catch a football, which is, he'd probably be in good company at West Ham. There you go. Right, we'll catch up with you tomorrow. Of course we will. Bloody game of football.